I wonder if you're like me, a Christian in business, and who sometimes thinks that we're just part of God's Marines. Now, I realise the Marines are an American term, and in Australia we have the equivalent of the SAS. Let's not get too carried away with minor technical definitions. I had a neighbour once who was American, and she had a son. He was a typical teenager, and he's starting to go a little bit on the side of life where you become a little bit disgruntled, a little bit off the rails. And it got to the stage where all he wanted to do was to join the Marines, which he could do because he had American citizenship. The challenge that he had was his math was not good at all, and part of the entrance exams included mathematics. So we spent probably a good couple of weeks going through some basic mathematics, and I was really happy. He actually got good results in the math section, and got accepted and chuffed off to the States to become a Marine. Sometimes you can look back at life and say, yes, I made the world a better place. I helped one individual come back from being off the tracks and going onto a straight line. And I'm thinking, that's probably similar to myself when I first started business. And I've been running, let's just say, lots of businesses for about 30 years. And when I started, I was definitely on the outskirts and not really knowing what I was doing correctly. And it was very much a driving force for the future of my life. And I'm very grateful for God for that. But one thing that I have learned is that it's God's business and God wants it done in God's way. And I have had a long, hard road learning that these are the rules of the game and to work that out. And that's what I mean by sometimes it feels like I'm in Marine boot camp. The pressures are immense. It feels like God is stripping you down, tearing you apart so he can rebuild you and make you a special forces superhero. I wish that was the case, but if nothing else, he builds an army of people in business. And really, as Christians in business, we do have an opportunity to bond together and work as an army. Now, I use the term Christian business loosely, as I tell some of my church friends that there are Christians in business with a big C and Christians in business with a little c. But at the end of the day, we're all still God's people, and maybe he's stripping some of us down harder than others, depending on how we are with our journey of faith. It's actually gotten to the stage that sometimes I wonder, am I in the right place? In commercial real estate, as you can imagine, it is at times a very dark industry, and I feel like my role from God is just to be a light and shine the light in a dark industry and be a light in a dark industry, so that people realise that you can be professional and you can be ethical and you can be successful in doing so. And one of the first things that I learnt when I went on real estate training, I think it was like the second sentence that my trainer said, and he wanted to make sure that everyone understood it, is that money changes people. And boy, haven't I seen that over the years. People who you may have even known for years, suddenly you put the opportunity of a sale or a purchase in front of them, and the money just drives them crazy. I've seen people argue about a couple of $1,000s when you sit back and you go, well, let's have a look at this. We're talking about 0.01 of 1% in the purchase price. Oh no, I deserve this money. This is my money. I'm not going to give them any money. And then you go on the other side. Oh no, that's my money. I'm not going to give them any more money. You just sit there and say, come on, guys and girls, let's get on the program. Let's look at the bigger picture. But money definitely changes people is one of the things that I've come up with. And sometimes I really do need to get back to basics and understand that I have no doubt that God put me in this industry. I'm not real sure why, but I know he definitely put me in that industry. The ducks lined up, as you say, the miracles happened, the doorways opened, and the next thing you know, I was a commercial real estate agent. And I have a prayer each morning, and I just say, hey, God, put me in front of the people you want me to help today. And then help me to help them, because sometimes the problems that these people have are very complex and challenging and beyond my capability, and I need the odd miracle to run through it. But maybe you're the same. You might be challenged in regards to why am I doing this? This is the right purpose. Go back to your basics. Make sure that God is still supporting you and you can see miracles. I have a journal which I fill out. It's just a I've not been much of a journal writer, which is interesting because I'm a published author, but I generally don't like writing. Sounds a bit odd, but that's it. But in that journal, I will often put down the miracles and great events that I've seen in the business, so that I have a repository of great things that God has done. So when times are tough and you feel like you're really in that boot camp in the Marines base and you're just getting hammered and you're crawling through the mud and crawling under the barbed wire and trying to jump over the fences and having people blow things up next to you and all those things you see in the movie, which I'm sure is probably a light side of what really happens in boot camp. But it lets you know that, yes, go through, because God is still with you to work through that particular passage. So one thing I want to make clear is, yes, I've been in business for a long time, but I am not a superstar. I am not the super successful person. There's plenty of others on YouTube and around the world that have been successful, and good luck to them. It's great to see that God bless them. Mine is more the other side. It's struggle city. My life is all about trying to minimize cancelled contracts, trying to work out what people are really saying and putting up with tolerance at times when they just outrightly lie. So those few examples are about me learning about people. And then I've learned about the business. And this business is no different to any other business. It's all about understanding cash flow. It's all about understanding intense competition. And this is an intense industry. Whenever there's plenty of money around, there's plenty of competition. And look, we'd love to think the world is a great place and everyone's above board and the bad people get punished. But reality is it's not. It is a dark industry. And it's one that's incredibly challenging. And there are times that I just want to get down on my knees and cry, being honest. I mean, even today, one of the competitors I found out had registered a business name very, very similar to mine. And it's got no similarity to their business name. Now, that can't be because of good reasons, but these are the things we look at. And that's like from a big player who's actually part of one of Australia's biggest network chains. And you sit there and say, why do you reduce yourself to doing such things, And the best I can do is just keep marching forward. Like I say, if competitors copy you, take that as the first form of flattery. If they do things like trying to register your business name and seeing what they're going to do with it, that's obviously because they're scared. And these are good things. This Marine may be doing some damage to the enemy as we go along those lines. And then we've had to tackle, economic downturns, and I think I'm of the philosophy there's always opportunities whether the economy is going up, down or sideways. You just got to work hard in any of those areas because there's going to be buyers, there's going to be sellers, there's going to be people looking for starting up businesses, there's going to be people looking for premises. There's always work out there. You just got to work harder. And one of the things that I see now as the economy goes down, that real estate agencies, or agents in particular, and agencies are starting to drop like flies. And the things that they're doing as desperate measures is quite sad. And you probably have the same in your industry. I mean, my industry is no different to any others. It's probably more high profile because of the amount of money that's involved in it. And we're always in the news. And I have to admit, this year has been hard. As I talk in terms of business, I find the third year is always the most difficult, and I've finished the third year in this business and probably the fourth year in my industry. I just feel broken and busted by God. Like that Marine who's gone through boot camp and is just a mess and almost in a fetal position. But then I look back and it's been a huge year. I've actually published my book, Commercial Reality. I'll put a quick plug in if you haven't seen one of those. There we go. Commercial Reality. Buy commercial, probably like the 7%. I wonder if YouTube charges me of that as a self-promotion, but hopefully not. But that's a huge body of work, and it enabled me to help so many people who have been looking for businesses and properties for more than 6 months. And I've also put together a massive training program on how to buy your first commercial property in 70 days to help those new do-it-yourself investors. So even though it's been hard, there's been a huge positive impact on helping people in the industry and showing them that yes, you can do things differently, you can do things professionally, and it's been a big year, it's been a hard year. And sometimes it's not a perspective of good or bad. We may have good moments, we have bad moments, but most of the time moments are in the middle. So you got your good here, your bad there, but we live life in the middle, doing the grind, and that's how you got to work with. It may be a case of having a look at things and say, well, is it actually a case of as good as it gets? Is being in the middle, all that bad after all? And I'm very lucky, and I think you probably will be too. There's always going to be good things that we have probably taken for granted. And I'm reading the book of Amos, and it talks about how life was really good for Israel and Judah. And it got to the stage where they drifted away because it was a great and easy time. They drifted away from God. And that's not a good thing. We all need God and cry out to God when things are bad. But we also need to make sure that we probably need him even more so when things are good. And I'm very lucky. I live in a very safe place. I've got a multi-million-dollar view. I'm right on the ocean front. I've got a wonderful unit, great wife, great church. There's a lot of great things going on, and you need to have that perspective. So if you're going through a tough time in the Marines, doing your boot camp in Christian business, then look, let's be brothers in arms and sisters in arms. Keep going, keep praying, keep close to the Word, work with other Christians and businesses, and have another look at the perspective. You'll probably find that you see God working in the brackets, and who knows, we may just become a great mighty Marine army for God. All right, take care and God bless. This is Peter from Bundaberg Commercial.